All right, let's dive into something, well, something pretty wild in the world of AI security. Now, I want you to just forget everything you think you know about hacking, complex code, brute force attacks, all that stuff. Just for a second. What if I told you that the next wave of hackers, they're not going to be programmers. They're going to be poets.
Yeah, I know. Hacking the planet with florid verse. It sounds like it's ripped straight out of some cyberpunk novel, doesn't it? But here's the kicker. It's not fiction. That's the actual title of a real research paper. And it just perfectly nails this bizarre new reality we're finding ourselves in. A reality where, yes, poetry can actually be used to trick these super powerful AIs into breaking their own rules. So, what in the world is adversarial poetry? Okay, think of it like this. If you try to give an AI a direct command it's not supposed to follow, like a really obvious one, its safety filters will just shut you down immediately. No go. But what if you disguise that command? You wrap it up in beautiful indirect language, metaphors, imagery, the whole poetic shebang. You're essentially using a poem to sneak a harmful instruction right past its digital security guards. It's incredibly clever. And look, this isn't just some quirky thought experiment. A team of researchers, actually from Italy, decided to put this whole idea to the test. They set up a proper experiment to answer one simple but crucial question. Just how vulnerable are the top AI models we use every day to a well-written poem?
Okay, and this is where it gets a little bit mind-bending. The researchers kicked off their paper with a reference to Plato. Yeah, the ancient Greek philosopher. Turns out, thousands of years ago, Plato wanted to ban poets from his ideal society, his republic, because he was worried their words could twist people's judgment and bring down society. And in this just wild, ironic twist, this experiment basically proved Plato right, except this time the society is built on silicone, not stone.
So how'd they actually pull this off? Well, their method was brilliant and honestly pretty straightforward. First, they handwrote 20 of their own adversarial poems, each one hiding a bad instruction inside a metaphor. Then, to really scale things up, they took 1,200 standard harmful prompts and used AI to convert them all into poetry. And finally, they just unleashed them. They fired off all these poems at 25 different AI models to see what would happen. And get this, these were all single-turn attacks. That's a key detail. It means they just sent the poem once. That's it. No long, tricky conversation to wear the AI down. Just one shot. Let's look at a real example so you can see what I mean. The researchers gave us this one. A baker guards a secret oven's heat. I mean, it sounds pretty harmless, right? It sounds like a lovely little poem about baking a cake. But nope. Tucked away inside that metaphor is a request for a very dangerous set of instructions. And that's the whole magic trick, right there. Hiding something dangerous in plain sight, using beautiful language as camouflage. All right, so the stage is set. The poetic attacks are launched. And what happened next? Well, it was pretty shocking, to be honest. Let's get into the results. 62%. Just let that number sink in for a second. That was the average success rate for the poems the researchers wrote by hand. Think about what that means. Almost 2/3 of the time, a simple poem could jailbreak the AI. And jailbreak just means it tricks the AI into ignoring its safety programming and giving a response it's absolutely not supposed to give. And this chart really puts it into perspective. You can see just how much more effective poetry was compared to just asking for something in plain English. The poetic attacks were over 5 times more successful at getting past the safety filters. It's clear the AI models they weren't ready for this. They weren't prepared for this kind of creative attack at all. But here's where it gets really interesting. It turns out not all AIs are built the same. There was a massive difference between the models. On one hand, you had Google's Gemini family of models. They were the most vulnerable by far. And on the other end of the spectrum, OpenAI's GPT-5 models were the toughest nuts to crack. They managed to block most of the poems that were sent their way. But this next number, honestly, this is the one that just blew me away. 100%. 100%. Google's Gemini 2.5 Pro model was fooled by every single one of the researchers' handmade poems. Not most of them. Not almost all of them. Every single one. It had zero defense. It was a complete and total failure of its safety system. So this all leads to the million-dollar question, right? Why? Why does this work so well? What is it about poetry that seems to be this massive, fundamental blind spot for AI safety? Well, the researchers had a couple of ideas. And this is where the results get really, really weird, like totally counterintuitive. You'd think that the bigger, smarter, and more advanced AI models would be safer, right? That just makes sense. But the researchers found the complete opposite. The smaller, simpler models were actually better at fending off these poetic attacks. The biggest, most powerful AIs were the ones that fell for it the hardest.
So what gives? Why are the bigger models the weaker ones here? Well, the researchers have two main theories. The first one is kind of fascinating. They think the big models have been trained on so much human literature and poetry that their ability to understand and appreciate literary style is actually stronger than their safety programming. So the art lover part of the AI just overrides the security guard part? The second theory is a lot simpler. Maybe the small models are just not smart enough to get the poem. They don't understand the metaphor, so they can't follow the hidden instruction. It's like the dangerous message just flies right over their head.
And all of this brings us to the researchers' own pretty sobering conclusion. What they're saying is that right now, the alignment systems in these AIs, the very safety features that are supposed to keep them on the straight and narrow, are super vulnerable. And not to some complex high-tech hack, but to simple, low-effort changes in language, things that any normal person could come up with. It's not a bug, it's looking more like a fundamental weakness in their design.
So what's the big takeaway here? This experiment proves that creative language can be a master key for unlocking AI. But it leaves us with a much, much bigger question, doesn't it? If a simple poem can completely bypass billions of dollars worth of safety research, what else can? What about song lyrics? A movie script? Could you jailbreak an AI with a really well-told joke? It seems like the very thing that makes us human, our creativity, our ability to use language in these beautiful, abstract ways, might just be AI's biggest Achilles heel.